What's going on, guys? Sam here with Finz Twins TV, back with another video. And today we're back down here in the studio filming a video for you guys. Today I'm going to be talking about how to jerk bait fish, and a little bit of stuff I like to do personally out there throwing the jerk bait. I do a lot of jerk bait fishing out on linear now. It's one of the baits we got tied on about every single time we go fishing, catch a bunch of fish on it, and catch a bunch of big fish on it. So really enjoying it and having a lot of fun catching a bunch of fish on that bait. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Now, one thing I and a lot of others really like about this jerkbait is how incredibly versatile it is. You can throw it practically anywhere. You can throw it on a rock, you can throw it on brush, you can throw it on riprap, points, humps, cloudy skies, sunny skies, clear water, stained water, muddy water. It's just crazy the amount of places you can throw a jerkbait. Just fish this thing right, figure out the cadence that those fish want, and about any condition you can think of, a jerkbait will work. Now, while these baits are most popular in the wintertime and pre-spawn period, you can fish these things almost year-round. You just got to figure out why you're fishing this bait. Now, whether it's in the wintertime when these fish are really lethargic, they're cold, you have a lot of fish dying off, these shad and bait fish. You know, if you've ever seen it before, these fish, they run off real fast and slowly float up, and run off real fast and slowly float up. And that's exactly what you're mimicking with this jerkbait in the wintertime. But in the summertime, especially out on linear, we have these spotted bass and smallmouth bass too. These schooling fish, a lot of times they'll come up and injure fish when they're schooling. So you got a lot of injured shad and herring out there, just swimming around, injured, and that's what you're mimicking in the summertime with this jerkbait. Now, before we get too deep into this video, I feel like I really need to talk to you guys about cadence and fishing a jerkbait, because it makes such a big deal. It is insane, because you might be out there one day catching 20 fish, pause. But there's a guy 100 yards from you fishing the same stuff, the same lure, but he's letting it pause for twice as long, and he's catching twice the amount of fish you are. So because there's so many different ways to fish this bait, always try and adjust, look for different ways, because I'll guarantee you there's pretty much always a better way to catch fish. Like I said, you might be doing one thing, catching a lot of fish, but the guy 100 yards from you is catching twice as many fish, doing almost the exact same thing. He just mixed it up a little bit and figured out exactly what those fish wanted. Alright, so now we're going to go into how you're going to want to adjust your retrieve and your bait depending on the conditions. Now I'll split it up into two little sections. You can go from overcast to sunny, and then with your water, you got from muddy to clear. Now, first I'm talking about sunny to overcast, and with sunny, you got that sun shining down in the water, especially with more clear water. Those fish, those bait fish, are shining, they're glamoury. So like in correspondence, now you're going to want to switch up and go with a more flashy jerkbait. Although, on the opposite side, you got a little more overcast, a little more cloud cover. You're going to go with a duller bait, maybe a little more natural color. Just not as much flash, just makes more sense, and it's more natural. Now going over from muddy to clear water. The muddier the water, the more flash, especially gold and copper. The same concept with your spinner baits. You want a gold or copper blade when it's super muddy. And rattles are going to come in handy a lot then. Just some more vibrations, just one more thing to get their attention, especially since these jerk baits are a visual bait and they have to actually see that bait before they're going to go eat it. Now, on the other side of things, you got your more clear and stained water. Depending on how clear it is, you're going to want super natural colors, because like I said, a visual bait, they see that bait before they go eat it. It's more clear, they get a better look at that bait. So you don't want anything super abstract, out of the norm. You want something supernatural and make it easier for them to make their decision and eat that bait. Alright, so now going over to your cadence and how you work that bait is going to be affected by the conditions. Now, a couple of things I just talked about aren't really going to change your cadence, but the water temperature is. Now, you're in the dead of winter, you can pause that bait up to 15 to 20 seconds. And those fish are just that slow. It takes that long of a pause for those fish to finally come up and commit to that bait. But if you're post-spawn, that water temperature is really rising quick. Those fish are super active, going out to eat. And man, you can be working that bait with as little as 1 to 2 second pause, and they'll still hammer it. So you always gotta change, figure out what those fish want, especially when that water's cold. Make sure you have a long pause and slowly speed that thing up as the year progresses. Now here in front of me I have two very similar looking but very different jerkbaits. I have a deep diver and a shallow diving jerkbait. First, I'm going to go into talking about our shallow diving jerkbait. Now with this thing, this is the only time really out on linear I'll use monofilament line, because mono floats. So with a shallow diver, especially in the wintertime, we're letting that thing sit there for a long time. That line floats on top so you can see a bite much easier than having to keep the line tight and feel it. You can leave slack line in that thing, let it float up, and you can watch that line to see if you get a bite. Now I'll use a shallow one. A lot of times when those fish are too finicky to come up and school on top, but they'll hit this jerkbait. Still a very vulnerable target, especially in the middle of the day when those fish aren't really very active. Also when I'm fishing over brush, rock piles, shallower water, looking on the graph, seeing those fish are suspended much higher in the water column, this is a great bait to use. Now, moving over to the deeper one. Like I said, completely different. I use fluorocarbon with this. Fluorocarbon sinks. It'll get down there faster, get down there deeper, and it'll really defeat the purpose of using a deep diver if I decide to use mono, because I'm using this to get down there deep, and if, I'm restricted by that with my line, kind of defeating the purpose of it. Now I use this a lot of times personally when the water's real muddy. I'm seeing fish down there on the graph deeper. I need this thing right in front of their nose. Like I said, it's a visual bait, so I need that thing right in front of their nose for them to be able to see it. They're not going to look up and be able to see that bait up there and go up and get it. The water's too muddy, it's a visual bait, and they can't see that far. Now doing some research on these things a couple weeks ago and seeing some people like the deeper ones. When it's sunny, the sun gets down there in deeper water and they can see better. So that's one thing to take into account with these deeper jerkbaits. Alright guys, now one more thing real quick before we finish up this video. I'm going to give you guys a couple little tips and tricks how to modify one of these jerkbaits. First of all, when one of these things is suspending in the water column, you never want it sitting flat. You either want the nose down or up, just to make it stand out a little bit. Just to make it separate itself from the rest of the bait fish out there. A couple ways you can do that. First of all, put a feathered hook on this back hook here. Make the backside a little more buoyant. Sit up. Also that feathered hook, when you twitch that bait, it's going to flare out. Just give it a little different look. Maybe switch it up a little bit. Get you some more bites. Now also, you can get some lead, some tape, or some wire. Wrap it around either the front or the back hook. Add a little more weight. Let the front or back sit down a little more. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure to scroll down below the video. Click that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Make sure to give this video a like. And I'll see you guys next time.